work for automotive manufacturers. They're the ones that actually did the initial batch of frames.
Yeah, it was Midland Ross.
Midland Ross, yes.
Midland Ross built the frame.
So what's interesting about this car, it incorporated some of the 64 changes. If you look at the way the square headlights are mounted in the front, and if you know what a 64 looks like, it's different. These were actually, I guess, hacked out by hand. It doesn't have the extra grille on the gun sight. So not all of the changes were made at once.
This car here is a half-inch narrower, I believe, than a regular car. So that bumper won't fit on any other car. It's not, that bumper, these bumpers on that car are not interchangeable with this one. So, because we thought we needed those one day, and I said, well, you know what? I don't think this is going to work. So,
Okay.
Also, in fact, you can see where they welded it together because there's an extra hole where the pad goes in the middle there, you see. So it's, no, it's a half inch wider is what it is. That's right, it's wider, it's not narrower.
I was fortunate enough to get internal memos from Otis Romine, who was the liaison between Studebaker and MFG. Warren Depot worked for Owens Corning Fiberglass. He walked into the Studebaker National Museum about 10 years ago in his early 80s, and he turned over a file to Andy Beckman, and that was his copies of correspondence between, and you know, part of one thing I hope to have some input on or bring to light is what actually happened. You know, the bottom line in my opinion, and its only opinion, is MFG could manufacture the parts. They couldn't assemble the bodies. They had done it for Corvette as far as they built the parts. They had not tried to put the car together. And as late as March of '62, there was correspondence between Egbert and Robert Morrison saying, where are we? And Morrison writes back, well, we're waiting for the last 2 jigs to come from Studebaker Engineering. And Egbert fired back, those are our engineering jigs to check your work. You shouldn't be waiting on us to provide you with the materials that we use to test whether the body meets our standards or not.
Well, they had a lot of trouble with the rear window openings, especially.
What, the window falling through being a problem?
Yeah, you know, maybe a gap issue, or but anybody who's worked on one of those knows there isn't two the same.
Was this car assembled at the same time as Egbert's car, 43?
No, this is 60, late 60.
That car was built between January and April of '62.
So Sherwood Egbert's was later.
Oh yeah, his was used as a changeover model, 4930.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was March. It was built in March and April of '63. This was one of the 10 that they built in the engineering department. It was all top secret. I mean, there were just engineers in there. There's no production workers. Just
right.
You know, the people that were on your list.
Internal list.
Yeah, the internal list. But no, those papers are very, very interesting. I mean, I've been lucky enough to go through them, and sometime John will have to share those with us, because it really is good reading, and it's a lot of reading. I don't know how many meetings were there.
Oh, they were meeting weekly.
From and that was from '61.
I have the original letter from Molded Fiberglass to Sherwood Egbert saying they had heard about the new Hawk project and that it was going to be done in fiberglass. I also have the board meetings from March of '61 saying something along the lines of, without lack of a better name until they called it, it is known as Project SHE, S-H-E, Sherwood Harry Egbert, or Project RQ. So the word was leaking out to Molded Fiberglass at that point.
Yeah, and I think that one of the first meetings was in April of '61 or so. Yeah, they had meetings every week, and so it's a lot of reading. It's because the minutes are lengthy.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 7-8 pages per meeting.
Well, Gary's great in terms of if you get some engineering stuff, you said, Gary, what the hell are they talking about? And he's very good at saying, this is what's going on.
Well, you know, it's common sense. I mean, it's like they spec'd out the first 15 cars. So if you have one of the first 15 cars, those are all hand-built in the engineering department. None of those were built in a production line setup. So there was no two of them the same. A lot of them were built with sample parts that were sent in from vendors. And, you know, I mean, they said, well, we got to we're short on this day, we're short on these expansion tanks today, so, well, we'll go over there and see what we got. Oh, here we got one here. They sent us, you know, so the one at the LeMay Museum has a Ford part number on it, on the top of the tank. But it's not a part number that Ford ever used, because it has an A, I mean, it's a part number, you know, basically 61. You can translate Ford part numbers by, if you know the code, because they're all date coded. And it was built in 61, and it was probably for a Thunderbird, you know, sent as a sample to them, and then they picked that up. I mean, a lot of the parts on this were parts that they just sourced from vendors who made them for other people. So,
And a lot of it, if you remember, being one of the smaller manufacturers, they had to do a lot of it with what they already had, i.e. the large frame. I was talking to Gary about some manufacturing deviation reports I had seen, and he said it makes sense in terms of they're not going to order 100 million pieces, they may order 10 million pieces. And as you get towards the end of that run, you could either get the part from the old supplier or you find something cheaper somewhere else, so you do a deviation and you substitute.